ඔබ දන්නවා මේ ඓතිහාසික මොහොත තුළ මේ පරිවර්තනය යුගය තුළ අපි ජනතාවාදී පාලනයක් පිහිටවන්න දේශපාලන අධිකාරිය හැටියට ජනතාව ඉදිරියේ පොරොන්දු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ පොරොන්දුව ඉෂ්ට කරමින් තමයි අපි මේ ඉදිරියට යන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. ඒතොර මේ ජනතාවාදී පාලනයක් තුළ ඔබ සියලු දෙනා අතිශයින්ම වැදගත් කාර්යභාරයක් ඉෂ්ට කරනවා. දේශපාලන අධිකාරය පමණක් නෙවෙයි ඒ සම්පූර්ණ රාජ යාන්ත්‍රණයම ජනතාවාදී සේවයක් බවට පත් කරගත්තේ ගන්නේ කෙසේද කියන එකත් ජනතාව තුළ දේශපාලන අධිකාරිය ගැන වගේම රාජ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රණය පිළිබඳ විශ්වාසයක් ඇති වෙන විදියට වැඩ කරන එක තමයි මං හිතන්නේ අපි සියලු දෙනා ඉදිරියේ තියෙන්නේ. මේක අපි ඉදිරියේ අභියෝග ගණනාවක් තියෙනවා. රාජ්‍ය සේවය පිළිබඳ රාජ්‍ය යාන්ත්‍රණ පිළිබඳ විශ්වාසය පළුදු වෙලා තියෙන මොහොතක තමයි අපි මේ වැඩ කරමින් යන්නේ. නමුත් අවස්ථාවකුත් තියෙනවා. අපිට විශාල අවස්ථාවක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මේක පරිවර්තනය කරමින් ඉදිරියට යන්න. මම හිතන්නේ මේ අපිට ලැබිලා තියෙන මේ අවස්ථාව අතාරින්න බැරි අවස්ථාවක්. මේක තමයි අපිට ලැබෙන අවස්ථාව. මේක තමයි අපි ප්‍රයෝජනයට ගත යුත්තේ. අපි මේ උත්සාහ කරන්නේ අලුත් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවක් ගොඩනගන්න. සියලු දෙනාම එකමුතුව වැඩ කරන රටක් හැටියට එකම අභිලාෂයන් කරා එක ගමනක් මුළු රටම ගෙනියන්න ගන්න උත්සාහයක අපි මේ ඉන්නේ. ඒ මොහොතක අපි ඉන්නේ. එතකොට අපි සියලු දෙනාටම සිද්ධ වෙනවා මේ අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න හදන ඒ ප්‍රතිපත්ති ඒ පරිවර්තනීය වෙනස නියෝජනය කරමින් එය ආරක්ෂා කරමින් ඉදිරියටම යන්න. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේ පරිවර්තනීය මොහොත තුල ඔබ සියලු දෙනා ඓතිහාසික කාර්යභාරයක් කරන්න නියමිතයි. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේ මොහොත මේ අපේ රට ගොඩනැගීමේ මොහොත අපි බාරගත යුතුයි කියලා මම තදින් විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඔබ රාජ්‍ය සේවකයන් පමණක් නෙවෙයි ජනතාවගේ විශ්වාසය ජනතාවගේ බලාපොරොත්තු ඔබ මතත් පැවරිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ විශ්වාසය ඒ බලාපොරොත්තුව මම හිතන්නේ ආරක්ෂා කිරීම අපිට අතිශයින්ම වැදගත් වෙනවා. එතකොට පවතින తත්වය කළමනාකරණය කිරීම පමණක් නෙවෙයි අපි මේක වෙනස් කරමින් ඉදිරියට යන්න වෙන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට අලුත් විදියට හිතන්න අලුත් දේවල් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා දෙයක් නොකරන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එකට වඩා තත්වයන් වෙනස් කරමින් ඉදිරියට යන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක තමයි අපිට හිතන්න වෙන්නේ. මේක තමයි මම හිතන්නේ අතිශයින්ම වැදගත් වෙන්නේ.
මම අද ඇත්තෙන්ම කතා කරන්න හිටියේ ඩිජිටල් කරණයෙන් කරන්න බැරි දේවල් ගැන. නමුත් පොරොන්දු වූ ආකාරයටම මම යම් තාක් දුරට ඩිජිටල් කරණයේ බලයත් ඒ වගේම ඩිජිටල් කරණයට ඔබෙන් යන ඩිජිටල් කරණයට පසුබිමක් වෙන අනිත් සාධක ගැනත් පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරන්න කැමතියි. පළවෙනිම මම කතා කරන්න කැමති මේ වචනේ ගැන. I like to bring this word world class. අපේ මනසේ යන underlying thoughts, සිතුවිලි, emotions, සංවේදී මොනවාද? අපි සියලු දෙනාටම කැමැත්තක් තියෙනවා, අභිමානයක් තියෙනවා අපේ රට world class කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ අනිත් රටවල් වලට සාපේක්ෂව එක එක විෂයන්හි එක එක කාර්යයන්හි හොඳම රට නැත්තම් ලෝක මට්ටමේ ජාත්‍යන්තර මට්ටමේ හැකියාවන් තියෙන රටක් හැටියට පත් කරනවා. අපි නිතරම කියනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකන් ක්‍රිකට් කියලා. Sri Lankan history. We often think about our heritage, our religion. We are proud of our strength in hospitality. We are proud about the beauty of our country. because at that moment we are confident that we are indeed world class. ඒක තමයි ජාතික අභිමානය කියන්නේ. ඒ වගේ සෑම අවස්ථාවකම we get goosebumps. පොඩක් සීතල වෙලා යනවා ඇඟ. අපේ ජාතික ගීය ගායන වෙලාවට වගේම මේ වගේ world class කියලා අපි ගැන කියා ගන්න තියෙන සෑම අවස්ථාවකදීම අපිට ලොකු අභිමානයක් එනවා. දැන් අපි governance ගැන කතා කරනකොට governance ගැන කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. We can talk about government. Can we also aspire? Can we aim to be an example, a shining light of world-class governance? What is world-class governance? An admired bureaucracy, a country which world leaders in every single sphere of activity want to partner, the preferred destination for investments. No longer a burden to be endured, but a delight to engage with this service platform. And of course, a government which is cashless, paperless, presenceless, ඒ කියන්නේ මූණට මූණ වත් මේ ළඟා වෙන්න අවශ්‍ය නැති ක්‍රමවේද. මීට වඩා ලොකු ලැයිස්තුවක් හදන්න පුළුවන් world class governance ගැන. මේ වගේ world class governance තියෙන රටවල් කීපයක් ගැන අපි දන්නවා. ඒ ගැන මම වැඩි විස්තර කතා කරන්න කැමති නැහැ. නමුත් මම කතා කරන්න කැමති මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපේ වර්තමාන වකවානුව ගැන. Our current, the present is dominated by change. අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් දැන් අපේ ජීවිත අපේ වර්තමානය reset වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා. If we had assumptions about how things will happen in this world, I think even in the last 12 months, lot of those assumptions have changed. It's a reset. When we have problems with our computer, you know what you do. You press the button, you reset. Then reset එකක් වෙනකොට ඒක අභියෝගයක් පමණක් නෙමෙයි, ඒක විශාල අවස්ථාවක්. මොකද මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ලෝකේ කිසිම රටක් නැහැ අද තියෙන රීසෙට් එකට පුදුම වෙච්ච නැති රටක් මං හිතන්නේ හොයාගන්න අමාරු. So it's an opportunity as well as a challenge, because we are at an inflection point, a turning point in the assumptions that we have about how we live, how we work, the technologies that rule and underlie governance. And in this reset, it is predicted that the global economy will be enriched by anything between 25 and 35 trillion US dollars by 2030. The combination of AI and various digital technologies will create value of 25 to 35 trillion US dollars. So if we take Sri Lanka's fair share of that, you can take it by population, you can take it by GDP, you can take it by land mass, whatever ratio you take it from, you will come up with the number that Sri Lanka can aim for 20 to 50 billion US dollars if we ride this next opportunity correctly. And the opportunity here through digitization is to grow the digital economy. Today our digital economy is about 3% of the total. සමස්ත ආර්ථිකයට සාපේක්ෂව ගන්නකොට අපේ ඩිජිටල් ආර්ථිකය, ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ඩිජිටල් ක්‍රමවේද, ඩිජිටල් අමුද්‍රව්‍ය වලින් කරන නිෂ්පාදනය, ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිසම්පාදනය එහෙම ඒවා ඔක්කොම ගත්තොත් අපි 25% වෙනකන් මේක ප්‍රසාරණය කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි අර දියුණු ලෝකේ රටවල් තාක් අපිට සංවර්ධනය වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Now why is this important? The more you grow that bubble, more you grow the ratio of digital economy to total economy, the higher the uplift you will get in your GDP growth. So if we were growing at, say, 3 to 5%, then through this uplift, you can grow at 5 to 7% or 5 to 8%. And there's a good example of this right next door in India, with such a large denominator, with 1.4 plus billion people. You would expect a country like that to be growing at best at 5%, 6%. But as we know, the country is growing at 7, 8%, now targeting 10% growth by 2030. That is the uplift from the digital economy. So capturing this opportunity, මේ අවස්ථාව අල්ලගන්න එක, මේ අවස්ථාව ජයග්‍රහණය කරන එක. I will challenge everyone here, and I have every confidence that it is the Sri Lanka Administrative Service which needs to be the architect and driver of this transformation. It's a huge opportunity, and it has to be grabbed and converted into economic growth which is distributed evenly among all the people of this country by a responsible, disciplined, governance-oriented organization. And again, I can't think of any better organization than the SLAs. And with that challenge, of course, comes the need to answer some questions. First, are these modern technologies, this transformation, මේ සංවර්ධනය, ගෝලීය වශයෙන් වෙන සංවර්ධනය, ඒක රටවල් සමාන කරනවද? රටවල් අතර ඇති පරතරය තව දුරස් කරනවද කියන ඒ ප්‍රශ්නය ගැන අපි ඊටාම තියුණු ලෙස සූක්ෂම ලෙස කල්පනා කරන්න ඕනේ. Because digital, and in particular AI, and when I say digital, there are so many different technologies, I'll come to that in a bit, but digital and in particular AI sits at what I would call the epicenter, Garbe, epicenter of our economy as well as other economies in the world. And therefore, if you adopt, engage and capture the benefits of these technologies correctly, you will win. If you don't, you will fall behind. And there has never been an occasion, I believe, in the past where this binary and incisive meaning sharp and cutting, separation between those who adopt and those who don't has not been prevalent before. So our response also has to be fundamental, ප්‍රාථමික ලෙස අපි මේකට ප්‍රතිචාර දක්වන්න ඕනේ මේ අභියෝගයට සහ අවස්ථාවට, decisive and radical. We cannot put to tomorrow those difficult decisions. And as the SLAs, and I call myself, let me say we, because we are all doing this together, if we don't decide on what is right and what actions we need to take fast and how we win in this new environment, and we don't act fast, and we don't act radically with courage, we will fall into the category of countries which start falling behind. So what we need is a leap to world-class governance. Think of 5 years from today, and you're traveling somewhere in the region, and someone says, "Oh, you're from Sri Lanka." That someone should say, "The civil service in your country is fantastic. I'm amazed at what the civil service in your country has delivered in such a short time. How you have conquered technology in the right way to develop your country, to be competitive globally, and to make lives better for every single citizen of your nation." What they say should go beyond, "Oh, I visited Sri Lanka, it's a beautiful place, I want to come again." That we hear and we are very proud of. "Oh, I watched your cricket team, I'm a great fan. That also we have heard. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is something we as the government sector need to take on as an almost impossible but very doable challenge to do this in 5 years. And there are a few, I'm only going to talk about two to keep things short. There are two models which I think we should start thinking about, which will change how we view our own life in governance. One is to consider our job in building government as a platform. වේදිකාවක් හෝ තටාකයක් හැටියට රජයේ සේවය නිර්මාණය කිරීම. Meaning that we create a foundation for others to multiply value. Meaning that our KPI should be to create facilities, services, very convenient access on one hand, and on the other hand, enable from a investment of, say, 20 from us, that someone else is going to create 80 in value. That is how you get that GDP growth uplift, because digital enables this, where you can put 20, but someone else creates 80. And we don't need to look far. The word platform, what are the platforms you can think of? You can think of Facebook. You can think of Google. These are all platforms. And the digital world has defined that it is platforms that create value. Meaning these are platforms with a lot of facilities, enables a lot of people to connect. But the value that's created far exceeds. It's not even 4 times like here on 2080. It far exceeds. It's 10 times, 20 times of what was invested. Because people create on top of the platform that you have built. The second concept is government as a spine, a vertebrae. And why government needs to be a spine is, I think, in this process we have to become invisible. We have to all become invisible, because the citizen should not have to even think of government. Business need not think about government. Business needs to just engage and things will get done. That is a beautiful bureaucracy. And also the spine has to interlock in a way that each component of the spine has to operate with other components. Think of our own bodies, the most fantastic creation that we can bend, run, sit, carry out various activities with agility all around this spine, which is a set of bones which are, or cartilage, which is connected to each other in a perfectly coordinated fashion. And within that cartilage is the nervous system, information, data, which flows seamlessly and at absolutely the correct time. So we need to be invisible but indispensable to the nation, and that would be successful governance. So we are now at a three-way crossroad. On one hand, we, everyone in this room, can decide to lead this change. මේ සංවර්ධනයට නායකත්වය දෙන්න අපි සියලු දෙනාටම ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් අපිට පුළුවන් වෙන දෙයක් වෙච්චාවේ කියලා ඒ සංවර්ධනයෙන් අපිම ගිලේ යන තත්යකට ගෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. තුන්වෙනි විකල්පය තියෙන්නේ සංවර්ධනයට කකුල් මාට්ටුවක් දාන එක. පුළුවන් තරම් මේක slow කරන එක. There is a fourth option also, which I didn't even put here, which is to go around in circles. Because when you go to a roundabout, there can be 3 roads, but you might decide to just go round and round. But I would request, and I'm sure everyone here would take the first choice. Because the difference between taking the right choice and the wrong choice, like I said, is that the country will fall behind very rapidly. We either win big or we lose big. Now, when it comes to the digital economy blueprint, which is sort of my job, the digital economy blueprint will support these concepts. And in terms of building government as a platform, we will architect several horizontal platforms, Tirasthala, where these horizontal platforms will serve all parts of government and the private sector. They will be open, not restricted to one vendor, completely open so that APIs or application program interfaces will be available to everyone. And you have heard of no code, you have heard of low code, which means that everyone here could actually become a developer. And you know the power of AI, you would have all played with AI. Everyone here can become a developer by using these horizontal platforms. Importantly, they should be inclusive, available, affordable, accessible to every single citizen and institution. In terms of the spine, we will also build several digital public infrastructures like the digital ID, like the National Data Exchange, like digital signature infrastructure, digital certificate infrastructure, payment infrastructure. These are those vertebrae in the spine which all work together and give you the strength of body, but shared across all organs of government. And trust, meaning safety, both in terms of internet use as well as cyber security, data protection, privacy, and sustainability. So this is what the digital economy blueprint will do. It will support the transformation of governance. But through this layered architecture, we will see that unless there is transformation in the way we work, in this architecture, what you need to take note of is that they are all horizontal. There is digital infrastructure, digital යටිතල පහසුකම් තියෙනවා යටම මට්ටමේ. මේකේ broadband පද්ධති, broadband ජාල, ඒ වගේම cloud යටිතල පහසුකම්, cyber security පද්ධති. ඊට ඉහළින් තියෙනවා digital public infrastructure නැත්නම් පොදු යටිතල පහසුකම්. එතනදී තමයි මම කලිනුත් කියපු විදිහට payment systems, identity systems, data exchange වගේ යටිතල පහසුකම්. මෙතනින් ඉහළට API මාර්ගයෙන් මේ යටිතල පහසුකම් වල තියෙන සෑම හැකියාවක්ම පොදුවේ සෑම ආයතනයකටම පුද්ගලයෙකුටම විවෘතව ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට අපිට සැබෑවීම ඕපන් ආකිටෙක්චර් එකක් හැදෙනවා. එතනින් ඉහළට තියෙන්නේ එක එක ආයතන වලින් හදන මෘදුකාංග වෙන්න පුළුවන් නැත්නම් systems හෝ විශේෂ සේවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Importantly, this is wrapped by the fundamentals of inclusion, trust and governance, policy, regulation, new institutions, and also capacity building and sustainability. I won't spend too much time on this blueprint. I've had the great opportunity of meeting several ministries, and we'll be meeting all the ministries and large institutions along the way. But what we need to take away from this is the structure. That we move more in the direction of horizontal sharing and less siloed proprietary systems, so that we can share our investments across a much larger area of government. But while we can support the transformation, digital ආර්ථික උපාය මාර්ගයෙන් සංවර්ධනයට සහායක් සහ පදනමක් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් වේවි කියලා මම හිතනවා. නමුත් සංවර්ධනයට තියෙන ලොකුම අභියෝගය තමයි අපිම වෙනස් වෙන එක. අපිම සංවර්ධනය අන්තර්ගත කිරීම, internalize transformation within ourselves. We have to change our mindset, our working cultures. We have to be ready to simplify things, because the more complex things are, we feel we have more power. The larger the system, the larger the process, we have more power. That thinking has to go. Simplify things. We have to prioritize service experience. We have to ensure citizens and businesses that deal with us are delighted. It should give us great pride when someone says, dealing with your government was such a pleasure. I didn't even know that I was dealing with the government, my activity got done. I will definitely invest in your country. Or the man or woman from a village who can get something done without traveling miles to a city. Get it done either via a device or to go to the closest kadamandiya and get a transaction done with government with the help of the mudalali. This is the delight, me truptiya, paribogika truptiya nattan puravasi truptiya saha ayatanika truptiya. If we can deliver these two things as a priority, I think we will attract a happy nation, but also a lot of investment. And we all know that AI is a major reset button. It is an accelerator of the reset. And because of AI, we really need to more and more think global. සාපේක්ෂව හිතන්න ඕනේ, අභ්‍යන්තරව හිතන එකට අමතරව. Because if we look only internally, we will set ourselves milestones for ourselves. We will think we are doing very well because we delivered our budget for next year. But unless we think, how is everybody else doing out there in the world, we will continue to fall behind. We will not be world class in governance. And to remember that AI is not here to replace the human. AI is here to take away what slows you down. There is no excuse now not to do things at AI speed. And in this world-class governance environment, we will have 4 main transformation dimensions, which everyone here in this room needs to accept as a challenge. Delivering citizen and business experience, process excellence, changing the way we do things, looking after our people through this phenomenal transformation. Because we here are at senior levels in government. But there will be thousands behind us, hundreds of thousands, who are afraid, who see this digital revolution as something unimaginable. And it is our duty to help every single citizen through the change. That is change management. And last but not least, digital, meaning technical capabilities. I put this last because that is the least important. First, it is leadership. It is all of you here who can lead this transformation. Second is your will to change and deliver a complete escalation in terms of efficiency, productivity, and economic growth for our country. So the SLAS officer of 2030, I would believe that the SLAS officer, at the peak, at the apex of which are the CEOs, the chief executive officers of ministries, our honorable secretaries here, who are managing portfolios larger than any private sector company in this country. Coming from the private sector myself, I marvel at how you handle scope which is so wide. There's no single private sector company which is as big as our large ministries in terms of the role of the CEO. But is the CEO doing the role of the CEO? I've heard this term, the chief accounting officer. That's not a nice term for someone who is going to lead transformation. I hope I'm forgiven for saying that. But from when we reach 2030, the apex of the civil service has to be the apex of strategy, has to be the apex of that platform government, at the head, the brain of the spine, which is orchestrating, meaning bringing resources together to deliver an output, and enabling citizen and business to create value and grow our economy. And last but not least, the policy entrepreneur. The policy entrepreneur, ව්‍යවසායකයෙක්, ප්‍රතිපත්ති ව්‍යවසායකයෙක්. What does that mean? Policy entrepreneur means designing policies to create value. Because every time you put a good policy on the table, investors will come to consume it. Every time you put a good policy on the table, you're making a citizen happy somewhere. And that is the role of a policy innovator and entrepreneur. And I have added a small T because I dream of 2030 when it is the Sri Lanka Administrative and Transformation Service. Because you will lead the transformation of Sri Lanka into the digital age. And we can all be proud when that happens, that we are indeed world class, not only as the people of this country, but as an engine of governance and growth for the greater good of every Sri Lankan. Thank you very much.
ඇහැරෙන්න නැගිටින්න YouTube අවකාශයේ top news සමග